Hi, Panthers. Okay, so now we're going to move on from the distinction between organic and geometric shapes to now talk about the difference between shape and form. All right, so just so you guys can see my visual here, this is something I sketched up. Shapes, we've been talking about these. All right, we have circles, squares, rectangles, triangles. Shapes are flat, they're 2D, and they're made with just basically a single line, all connected. Over here, something a little bit more advanced, forms. Forms are three-dimensional, they have volume, and as you guys can see, there's always a match between a shape and a form. So you can take a rectangle and you can make it three-dimensional. You can take your triangle, turn it into a cone, simply by adding shading and additional lines. You can create a cube from a square, again, by creating that edge that makes it look three-dimensional. And a sphere and a circle. Now in this case, a sphere, for it to look three-dimensional, it needs to be shaded. So you're going to have a light source, create a shadow, and get it to look more three-dimensional. So you guys can see where we're going with this. We're eventually going to be drawing all of these really wonderful forms, shading them, cutting them out, and then pasting them onto a piece of paper in some sort of topsy-turvy, almost like a sculpture. This is mine. But before we could ever get here, we should probably practice how to draw forms. All right? So today's a big practice day. On our Seesaw account, we're going to see different worksheets on how to create our forms, how to practice them. I just want you guys to try to do a few of these before we can advance on to any sort of artwork. All right? So today is a big practice day. It's okay to mess up and start over. I'm going to walk you guys through how to do a few of them. So let me turn my camera around and I'll walk you guys through some of our basics. Now, when I go to draw a form, I have to think of a shape first. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, if you guys have a shape, think of a shape like a square. It's going to start out with a square like this. Okay, and hopefully you guys understand there's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to do another square right in the upper corner, overlapping on top of my first one, and then straight lines to connect the corners. Fabulous. Now this is a cube. The thing is when we go to do any sort of artwork, oftentimes we don't see those back lines. So here's another way to do a cube without doing any of those additional lines. This is almost like we could see through the cube like an ice cube. We want to make a cube into, or square into a cube without having it be see-through. Do some straight lines back, and they're all going in the same direction. Then we connect them with a straight line. Hopefully you guys can see the difference. All right, let's try doing a cone. When I go to draw a cone, I am going to start out with a circle, and then up into a triangle on both sides. Beautiful, but we might not see this line if the cone isn't see-through. So, in this case, I might do a half circle and then go straight up and connect it. Later on we can shade that so it looks three-dimensional. Let's try a cylinder, almost like a can. A long oval on the top, long oval on the bottom, and then connect them. All right, we might not want to see this line though if we're just drawing a can. So on the top, I'm going to do an oval, go straight down, and then a rounded base just like I did on my cone. Now, here's another thing, guys. We can do a circle. Now, a circle can turn into a ball or a sphere simply by adding some shading. All right, so here's a circle. I'm going to pretend I have a light source. I'm going to put a little light bulb up here. You don't have to do this, but it helps. And the light might be casted all over that side of my circle, which means I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to press down a little harder on the farthest end away from my light. And then I'm going to gradually lessen my pressure. As it gets closer to the light. If you feel like being really detailed, you can even put a shadow on the ground here. That would be all black. I know, at school we have those smudging sticks. You guys can just use your finger if you want to make it all smooth. Beautiful. If you guys want to go ahead and shade any of the other ones we did earlier, you totally can. Let me show you. Just like before, you want to kind of fudge where a light source would be. So if my light is over here, that means this side of my cone is going to get shaded. Just like what I did with the sphere. Again. Use your finger and you could smudge it. You could try this on a can too, if you guys want to. Pretend my light is over here, just so you guys know where your light source is coming from. Add a little bit of shading on the opposite side. Go a little extra dark around that edge, and then I lighten it up. Same thing at the top too. I'm going to add a little extra shading up here and then lighten it up. You can use your finger and smudge it over. And if you get too dark, you can always use your pencil. And then let's try it on our cube. Let's pretend our light source is up here. Do a light bulb. So that means on this side of my cube, the dark side of the cube, we're not going to see any light really on there. So this guy's going to get shaded over here. Try to keep it within the lines. I'm getting a little messy here. And then the same thing up here. I'm going to have it be dark. And then lighten up. Beautiful. Folks, I just want you guys to practice this. If it's ugly, that's okay. Then you scratch it out, you try it again. I'm going to attach a few worksheets that'll walk you guys through it again, maybe in a different way that I've drawn it. Whatever works for you, but we're going to try to practice drawing our 3D forms and try to add a little bit of shading to them. So let's give it a try. Get your sketchbook, get scrap paper, and again, if you have a couple that are not so beautiful, that's okay. Cross them out, try it again. I want to see your progress. I want to see you guys trying.